Betrayal never comes in the way you expect. Sometimes it walks right through your front door, disguised as love. Today, we're diving into a story that's going to make you think twice about who you trust. This is a story of Travis Butler, a man who thought he was doing everything right, working hard, loving his family, trying to build a better life. But sometimes the path to destruction is paved by the very hands that should be lifting you up. Travis was a good man, raised in the church, who wanted nothing more than provide for his wife and son. But when money got tight and desperation set in, he made a choice that would cost him everything. And when those handcuffs clicked around his wrists, guess who was sitting on the other side of that courtroom, pointing fingers? The same two women who pushed him into the game in the first place. But here's the thing about karma. It always collects its debts. Before we get deeper into the story, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now and drop in the comments where you're watching from today. All right, now let's get into it. Travis Butler grew up on the east side of Detroit, in a modest house with a small yard and a front porch where his mother, Geraldine, would sit watching the neighborhood while singing church hymns under her breath. Geraldine Butler was the backbone of True Faith Baptist Church, leading the choir every Sunday and making sure Travis was front row center for Pastor Williams' sermons. "The devil tempts idle hands, baby," she'd tell him, pushing him towards school and the after-school program at the church, away from the corner boys who'd watch him walk by. Stay busy with the Lord's work, and evil can't find its way in. Geraldine raised Travis alone after his father walked out when Travis was just 3 years old. She worked 2 jobs, cleaning houses during the day and offices at night, but never missed Sunday service or Wednesday Bible study. She made sure Travis knew right from wrong, made sure he understood that shortcuts in life always came with a price. "Nothing worth having comes easy," she'd say, rubbing her swollen feet after a long day of work. "Remember that, Travis. The easy path leads to hard times." By the time Travis hit 35, he was doing everything right, at least on paper. He had a steady job at the warehouse loading trucks. The pay wasn't great, but it was honest work. He'd married Shanice, a pretty girl he met at church, and they had a son, little Travis Jr., who was the light of his life. They lived in a modest apartment. Nothing fancy, but clean and in a decent part of town. Travis worked overtime whenever he could, picking up weekend shifts to put a little extra in their savings account. He dreamed of buying a small house one day, something with a yard where little Travis could play. But no matter how hard he worked, it never seemed to be enough. The bills kept coming faster than the paychecks. Little Travis needed new shoes. The car needed repairs. The rent went up. Shanice wanted nicer things. She'd point Instagram posts of her friends with new purses, new clothes, vacations in places Travis couldn't pronounce. "We deserve better than this," she'd say, scrolling through her phone while Travis counted out dollars for the electric bill. "We shouldn't have to struggle like this." And deep down, Travis agreed. He'd done everything right. Stayed in school, stayed out of trouble, worked hard, got married, had a child. So why was life still so difficult? Why couldn't he provide the kind of life Shanice deserved? The kind of future little Travis needed? That question, that doubt, was the first crack in the foundation of the life Travis had built. A small crack, barely visible. But under enough pressure, even the smallest crack can bring down a wall. The pressure came in the form of an eviction notice. 3 months behind on rent. Despite Travis picking up every extra shift he could, the warehouse had cut back hours due to an economic downturn. Whatever that meant to a man who still had bills to pay. When Travis came home with that pink paper, Shanice didn't cry or panic. She just nodded, like she'd been expecting it. "I told you this would happen," she said quietly. "I told you we needed more money." Travis slumped onto their worn couch, head in his hands. "I'm trying, Shanice. I'm working as much as they'll let me." "Working harder isn't the answer," she said, sitting beside him. "We need to work smarter." That's when she first mentioned Earl. "My friend Earl. He knows ways to make real money," Shanice said, her voice low, even though they were alone. "He could help you." Travis looked up. "Earl? The guy with the new Escalade? The one who never seems to have a job, but always has money? That Earl?" Shanice rolled her eyes. Yes, that Earl. And before you start judging, ask yourself if your pride is worth being homeless. Ask yourself if it's worth watching your son go hungry. We're not going to be homeless. We're not going to go hungry, Travis insisted. I'll figure something out. Something legitimate. Well, while you're figuring it out, Shanice said, standing up, I'm going to call my mother. See if she can help us out until your legitimate solution comes through. Travis winced. He didn't like asking Shanice's mother, Yvette, for help. There was something about the woman that made him uneasy, the way she looked at him sometimes, like she was measuring him and finding him lacking. But they needed help, and pride wouldn't pay the rent. Fine, he said. Call Yvette, but tell her it's just a loan. We'll pay her back. Shanice nodded, but there was something in her small smile that Travis missed, something that would have warned him if he'd been paying attention. The first crack was about to split wide open. Earl Davis was everything Travis Johnson wasn't. Loud where Travis was quiet, flashy where Travis was modest, confident where Travis was cautious. They met at a bar downtown, the kind of place Travis would never go on his own. Dark lighting, overpriced drinks, women in tight dresses. Earl ordered top-shelf whiskey for both of them without asking what Travis wanted. So, your lady says you need to make some real money, Earl said. No small talk, no warm-up. Travis shifted uncomfortably. I need to make some extra cash. Yeah, temporarily. Just until I can get back on my feet. Earl laughed, a sound like ice in a glass. Temporarily? Sure. That's what everyone says at first. He leaned forward. Let me ask you something, Travis. You work at the warehouse, right? How much you make an hour? 15, Travis admitted. $15 an hour. And you work what? 40 hours a week? 50 with overtime when you can get it? Travis nodded. So, best case, you bringing home about $750 a week before taxes. Maybe $600 after Uncle Sam takes his cut. Earl shook his head. And on that, you trying to support a wife, a kid, an apartment? We manage, Travis said defensively. No, brother, you don't. That's why you're sitting here with me. Earl took a sip of his whiskey. Let me tell you what I can offer. 1 day of work, maybe 8 hours total, $2,000 cash. Travis's eyes widened. What kind of work pays $2,000 for 1 day? The kind of work that values discretion, Earl said smoothly. The kind of work that recognizes not everyone gets the same opportunities in this world. So sometimes you got to make your own. The proposition wasn't complicated. Drive to Cincinnati once a month, pick up a package, drive it back to Detroit. $2,000 each trip. That's more than half what I make in a month at the warehouse. Travis said quietly. Exactly, Earl smiled. And the risk? Almost nothing for a man with a clean record like yours. Cops see a regular guy in a regular car. They don't look twice. Travis didn't say yes that night. He said he needed to think about it. But as he drove home in his old car with the check engine light permanently on, he couldn't stop thinking about that number. $2,000 in 1 day. When he got home, Shanice was waiting up. So, she asked, eyes wide with anticipation. I told him I'd think about it. Her face fell. Think about it? What's there to think about? Travis? We about to be evicted. It's not that simple, Shanice. You know what he's asking me to do. She came to him then, placing her hands on his chest. I know he's asking you to be a provider, to be a man who takes care of his family no matter what. The word stung. I am providing. I am taking care of you. Are you? She challenged. Because from where I'm standing, we're about to be out on the street. Is that providing? Travis pulled away from her. On the wall was a framed Bible verse Geraldine had given them as a wedding gift. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. I need to pray on this, he said. Shanice's laugh was bitter. Pray all you want. But God helps those who help themselves. Travis, remember that part. That night, Travis didn't sleep. He lay awake thinking about the path he was being offered. It wasn't right. He knew that. But what was the right choice worth if his family suffered? What good was his morality if his son went hungry? By morning, he'd made his decision. Just once, he told himself. Just to catch up on bills. Just until he could find a better job, a legitimate way out. Just once. That's what everyone says at first. The first run went exactly as Earl had described. A quick drive to Cincinnati. A stop at a nondescript apartment building. A package no bigger than a shoebox transferred to Travis's trunk. And then back to Detroit. $2,000 in cash counted out in Earl's living room. Travis paid the back rent, got little Travis new shoes, and filled the gas tank without watching the numbers tick up with dread. For the first time in months, he slept through the night. When Geraldine asked how they caught up on bills, Travis lied. Over time, he said, and Shanice picked up some shifts at her cousin's salon. His mother gave him a long look, the kind that made him feel like she could see right through him. Whatever you're doing, son, make sure it's something you can face God with when your time comes. He couldn't meet her eyes when he nodded. The second run came a month later, then a third. Each time, the same routine. Each time, the same rationalization. Just one more time. Just until things get better. Just until he found another way. By the fourth run, Travis and Shanice had moved to a better apartment. She got the designer purse she'd been eyeing online. He got them a used Lexus, nothing too flashy but reliable. Little Travis got enrolled in a better school. See, Shanice said, lounging on their new sectional sofa. Isn't this better than struggling? It was better. The money was better. The lifestyle was better. But the knot in Travis's stomach grew tighter with each run. The jumpiness when a police car drove by. The way he'd wake up in cold sweats, dreaming of handcuffs. After 6 runs, Travis told Shanice he wanted out. I've saved enough, he said. I can start a small business now. Something legitimate. Maybe a mobile car detailing service. Shanice's face changed then, hardened in a way he'd never seen before. You can't quit now, Travis. We're just getting started. I don't want to end up in prison, Shanice. You won't, she insisted. Earl knows what he's doing. Besides, you think I'd let anything happen to my husband? That same night, Yvette came over for dinner. While Shanice was putting little Travis to bed, Yvette cornered Travis in the kitchen. My daughter tells me you're thinking of quitting your side business, she said quietly. Travis stiffened. You know about that? Yvette laughed, but there was no humor in it. Boy, who you think put Shanice in touch with Earl? We family now. It's too risky. I want out. She stepped closer, her perfume heavy and sweet. Let me tell you something about this game. I used to run product back in Memphis for years. Good money. Real good. But you know what? I got greedy. Took more than my share. Had to leave town with the quickness. She glanced toward little Travis's bedroom. That's how we ended up in Cincinnati. Then here in Detroit. You were in the game? Travis couldn't believe what he was hearing. More than in it, baby. I was running it for my territory. She smiled, but her eyes were cold. That's how I know you're making good money with Earl. Why walk away from that? Because I don't want to go to jail. You won't. Not if you're smart. She patted his cheek like he was a child. Just a few more runs. Build up a real safety net. Then you can quit. When Shanice came back from putting little Travis to bed, the conversation shifted to church gossip and weather. But that night, when they were alone, Shanice came to bed wearing new lingerie Travis had never seen before. One more run, she whispered against his neck. For me? He said yes. He always said yes to Shanice. What Travis didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that this next run would be different, that Earl had debts of his own to pay, and Travis was a currency, that Shanice and Yvette had made a deal long before Travis ever met Earl, that the one more run was always meant to be his last, just not in the way he planned. The next day, while going through old photo albums with little Travis, he found something strange, a newspaper clipping tucked into the back of the album. It was from Memphis, dated 10 years earlier. The headline read, Local drug ring busted, leaders still at large. And there, in a grainy photograph, was a younger Yvette being escorted into a courthouse in handcuffs. Travis stared at the photo, his mind racing. If Yvette had been arrested in Memphis, How had she gotten away? Why had she never mentioned this? And if she'd been running drugs, how deeply was Shanice involved? He had the clipping in his wallet, not sure what to do with the information, but knowing instinctively that it was important. That night, he watched Shanice and Yvette more carefully. Noticed the way they whispered when they thought he wasn't listening. The way their stories about the past never quite lined up. Something was wrong. Travis could feel it, but he was already in too deep to back out now. The last run was supposed to be like all the others. Cincinnati and back, same day, but at the last minute, Earl changed the plan. Need you to go to Louisville this time, he said, not meeting Travis's eyes. Bigger package, bigger money. $5,000 for this one. $5,000. With that, Travis could actually start the small business he'd been dreaming about, a mobile car detailing service. Something honest. He didn't tell Shanice about the change in plans. Lately, she'd been acting strange. Secretive phone calls. Going out with friends he'd never met. Once, he'd caught her deleting text messages when he walked into the room. The drive to Louisville was peaceful. Spring was turning to summer, and the highway was lined with green trees and blooming flowers. Travis had the windows down, gospel music playing low. For a moment, he almost forgot what he was doing. Almost felt like a regular man on a regular drive. The pickup one is planned. The package was smaller than usual, but heavier. Travis didn't ask questions. He never did. It wasn't until he hit I-71 North that he saw the police lights flashing behind him. His heart dropped to his stomach. He pulled over, hands gripping the wheel at 10 and 2 like his mama taught him. License and registration. The officer said, flashlight beam sweeping the car interior. Travis handed them over with steady hands. Is there a problem, officer? Step out of the vehicle, sir. That's when Travis knew. Somehow, they knew what he was carrying. The search took less than 10 minutes. The package was in the spare tire well, exactly where Earl's people had put it, for kilos of heroin. Street value, just under $2 million. As they put the handcuffs on him, all Travis could think about was his mother's face when she found out. And little Travis, what would happen to his son? The preliminary hearing came quickly. Travis, still in shock, could barely focus on what his court-appointed lawyer was saying. Something about bail being denied due to the severity of the charges. Something about mandatory minimums. It wasn't until the trial 3 months later that Travis began to understand the full scope of his betrayal. 3 months of county jail. Of Shanice visiting less and less. Of Geraldine crying on the other side of the glass partition. I told you, baby, his mother sobbed. I warned you about fast money. She had, and he hadn't listened. Travis's court-appointed lawyer was a tired-looking white woman named Anderson who seemed like she'd rather be anywhere else. But even she was shocked when the prosecution called their star witness. The state called Shanice Butler to the stand. Travis's head snapped up. Surely he'd heard wrong. But there was Shanice, walking to the witness stand in a modest navy blue dress he'd never seen. Her hair pulled back, eyes downcast. Mrs. Butler, can you tell the court about your husband's drug trafficking activities? And Shanice did. She told them everything. The runs to Cincinnati. The money. Even conversations Travis thought had been private between husband and wife. He said he liked the rush, she testified, voice trembling in a performance worthy of an Oscar. Said he didn't care about the risk. Objection, Travis's lawyer called. Spousal privilege. The judge shook his head. Overruled. The witness has waived spousal privilege. Travis couldn't breathe. Across the courtroom, Geraldine looked like she might faint, but the worst was yet to come. Mrs. Butler, was there anything else about your husband's behavior that concerned you? Shanice dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. He became violent. The more involved he got with drugs, the more his temper changed. The prosecutor approached with a photograph. Your Honor, State's Exhibit 27. The photo showed Shanice with a bruised cheek and split lip. Can you tell us when this was taken? 3 months ago. Travis found out I'd been talking to an old friend from high school. Just catching up on Facebook. He accused me of cheating and hit me. The courtroom murmured. Travis jumped to his feet. That's a lie. I slapped her once, when I found her in our bed with Earl. That picture is from something else. Mr. Butler, control yourself or I'll have you removed, the judge warned. But Travis couldn't stop. Tell them the truth, Shanice. Tell them how you pushed me into this. Court officers restrained him as Shanice sobbed on the stand. The next witness was Yvette Williams, Mrs. Williams, as a defendant's mother-in-law. Did you witness any concerning behavior? Yvette nodded solemnly. I saw the bruises on my daughter. I begged her to leave him, but she was scared. And I overheard him many times planning his drug runs, bragging about how much money he was making. Travis stared at her in disbelief. This woman, who practically pushed him into dealing, was now painting him as some kingpin. By the time Geraldine took the stand for the defense, the damage was done. His mother's tearful testimony about his good character, his church attendance, his clean record before meeting Shanice. It all seemed hollow against the picture Shanice and Yvette had painted. My son is a good boy, Geraldine insisted, her voice breaking. He went to church every Sunday. He worked hard. I don't know what happened, but this ain't him. This ain't my baby. As she stepped down from the witness stand, she locked eyes with Yvette. In that moment, something passed between the two mothers. Recognition, maybe. One woman who'd failed to protect her child from the other. The jury deliberated for just 3 hours on the charge of trafficking a controlled substance. We find the defendant guilty. Travis closed his eyes, feeling the world collapse around him. 22 years, the judge pronounced it sentencing, with possibility of parole after 15. As they led him away, Travis looked back. Shanice and Yvette were already gone from the courtroom. Only Geraldine remained, her Bible clutched to her chest, tears streaming down her face. Riverdale Correctional Facility became Travis's new home. Concrete and steel, routine and violence. The first year passed in a blur of anger and betrayal. Shanice filed for divorce 2 months after his sentencing. She never visited, never wrote. Through Geraldine, who visited faithfully every month, Travis learned that Shanice and Yvette had moved to a new house in the suburbs. Apparently, they'd come into some money. Blood money. Geraldine spat during one visit. 30 pieces of silver for selling you out. Little Travis was living with them, growing up without his father. The thought of his son being raised by the very people who betrayed him was almost more than Travis could bear. It was during his 18th month inside that Travis met Marcus, an older inmate from Memphis who'd been down for 15 years. Memphis? Travis said one day in the yard. You ever know a woman named Yvette Williams? Would have been dealing back in the day. Marcus's eyes widened. Yvette? Man, everybody from the east side knew Yvette. She worked for Big Tony Dawson, ran his whole operation on the south side. Word was, she skimmed like 50, 60 grand off the top, and disappeared overnight. Big Tony been looking for her ever since. Travis felt something cold settle in his stomach. Tony Dawson. He's still around? Oh, yeah. Running the whole Tennessee operation now. Did 10 years. Got out stronger. Why are you asking about Yvette? She's my mother-in-law. Her and my wife set me up to take a fall. Marcus whistled low. Damn, young blood. That's cold, even for this game. That night, Travis lay on his bunk thinking. Big Tony was still looking for Yvette after all these years. The woman had stolen from him, made him look weak. In that world, such things weren't forgotten. It took Travis 2 weeks to make the decision. 2 weeks of remembering Shanice's testimony. Yvette's lies. The 22 years they'd cost him. 2 weeks of thinking about his son, growing up without him, being raised by women who would teach him that betrayal was acceptable if the price was right. The prison phone was available during rec time. Calls were recorded, monitored, but Travis knew how to talk in code. Marcus had given him a number, his cousin in Memphis, who could get a message to Big Tony. You sure about this? Marcus asked as Travis prepared to dial. Once it's done, it's done. Travis thought about his mother crying in court, about the life he should have had, About betrayal. I'm sure. The call lasted less than 3 minutes. Just enough time to pass along the information that Yvette Williams was living large in Detroit with her daughter. Just enough details about their new suburban address, their routines. Consider it a gift, Travis said. No strings. 3 weeks later, Geraldine came to visit, her face grim. I thought you should hear this from me, she said, her voice low. Shanice and Yvette Williams are missing. The police are looking into it. She paused for a moment, letting the weight of her words sink in. Their house was broken into in the middle of the night. No sign of them. Just gone. The police are doing what they can. Little Travis is with me now, Geraldine said quietly. He was at a sleepover that night, thank God. Travis nodded, relief washing over him. His son was safe, with his mother where he belonged. People saying they probably ran off with some man. Geraldine continued, her voice low. Running off in the night seems to be their pattern. Travis met his mother's eyes. She didn't ask if he knew anything. He didn't volunteer. I'm sure they're chilling with the angels, was all he said. Geraldine reached across the table and squeezed his hand. For the first time since his arrest, she didn't look disappointed in him. That night, back in his cell, Travis slept better than he had in years. 22 years was a long time, but his son was safe. And sometimes justice came in unexpected ways. 5 years into his sentence, Travis had changed. The angry young man was gone, replaced by someone quieter, more thoughtful. He got his GED inside, started taking college courses, began counseling younger inmates. Geraldine visited every month, regular as clockwork. She brought him books, told him church gossip, kept him connected to the outside world. Most importantly, she brought news of little Travis, who was thriving under her care. He asks about you, Geraldine would say. I tell him his daddy made some mistakes, but he loves him very much, that he's working hard to come home one day. It wasn't the life Travis had imagined for himself or for his son, but it was a life with hope, a life with a future. You know, Geraldine said one visit, I've been thinking about what happened. All of it. Travis tensed. This was dangerous territory. I was so focused on keeping you in church, keeping you away from the streets, that I didn't teach you enough about people, about how the devil don't always look like the devil. Sometimes he looks like love. Mama, let me finish. Son, what you did was wrong. Dealing drugs, that's wrong. But what they did to you, setting you up, that's a different kind of evil. Travis looked down at his hands. You think God forgive that kind of evil? Geraldine was quiet for a long moment. I think God forgives everything, if there's true repentance. But I don't think some people live long enough to repent. Their eyes met across the table. And in that moment, Travis knew that his mother knew. Maybe she'd always known. 17 more years is a long time, Mama. She nodded. It is, but you ain't alone. And when you get out, I'll be waiting. We'll start again. As the guards led Travis back to his cell, he thought about choices. The choice to start dealing. The choice to trust Shanice. The choice to make that phone call from prison. He didn't regret that last choice. Not really. But he wondered sometimes about parallel lives. The life where he'd said no to Shanice from the beginning. The life where he'd listened to his mother's warnings. In his cell that night, Travis pulled out the small Bible his mother had brought him. Inside the cover, she'd written a single line, "The truth shall set you free." He wasn't free, not in the physical sense. But in his heart, the weight was lifting. The anger was fading. The future, distant as it was, held possibilities. 22 years was a long time, but not forever. And sometimes, even in the darkest places, there was light to be found. So that's the story of Travis Johnson, a good man who made bad choices and paid a heavy price. When his wife and her mother testified against him, they thought they'd written the end of his story. But sometimes, even from behind bars, a man can rewrite the ending. What Travis did wasn't right. What was done to him wasn't right either. But in this game of life, it's not always about right and wrong. Sometimes it's about survival. Sometimes It's about justice that don't come from a courthouse. If this story touched you, hit that subscribe button right now. You don't want to miss what's coming next. What would you have done in Travis's shoes? Let me know in the comments below. Would you have forgiven, or would you have made that call? This is Ruthless Realities. Until next time,